Hello children and welcome to today's session. Children, in the last class we understood how food is important for us. Food gives us energy to do work. Food also helps us to grow, fight diseases and repair worn out tissues. So all living beings, be it plants, animals or human beings, they all need food to grow and survive. And we discussed that there are two different types of living organisms. They are those that produce their own food, known as autotrophs, and then there are those that depend on the autotrophs for their need of food. They are known as heterotrophs. And heterotrophs essentially include animals and humans. Based on the habit of heterotrophs, they can be further divided. How? We are going to learn in chapter number 2, food habits and skills of handling food. So children, let's understand the classification of animals on the basis of food habits. So we all know that plants are the only living organisms that can prepare their own food using the light of the sun and the carbon dioxide. Now, there are some animals that depend directly on plants, the herbivores. There are plant-eating animals like the deer, the zebra, the giraffe, which directly depend on plants, be it grass, leaves of tall trees, etc. Now, all these herbivore animals have one thing in common. They have broad and flat teeth, which help them to chew and grind the plant material that they eat. Coming next to animals like squirrels and rats. These animals like to feed on seeds and grains of plants. And how do they feed on them? They have very sharp teeth in the upper and the lower jaw, which help them to bite and split apart the seed and the grains. Let us now learn about flesh-eating animals which feed on the smaller animals that are grass-eating animals. Carnivores like lion, tiger, wolf, and snake are dependent on smaller animals. They have got very sharp teeth, the canines, to tear apart the flesh of the animal that they eat. The next category of animals is those that feed both on plants as well as on animals like dog, bear, cat and human beings. They eat both plants as well as flesh of smaller animals. They are called omnivores. So we've learned about herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Children, do you have any idea what happens to the carcass of animal once the bigger animals like the lion and the tiger have had their fill? There are smaller animals which are called scavengers, just like the vultures, the hyena. What do? They feed on the leftover meat which is left after the lion and the tiger have finished their food. And how do they help by feeding on it? They avoid the growth of germs and bacteria on the leftover flesh. So these are scavengers. There is another category of organisms, specifically mushrooms and yeast. They derive their nutrition by feeding on other organisms. So you would see a mushroom specifically growing on an old log of wood. Why does it happen like that? Because the mushroom does not have chlorophyll. It cannot prepare its own food. It is a microorganism. It depends on the nutrition in that log of wood or the trunk of the tree on which it is growing. So it draws nutrition from there. And same is the case with yeast. These are known as saprophytes. Children, other than saprophytes, there are also parasites. Parasites are also very, very small organisms which again depend on the body of the host, the plant or the animal on which or within whose body they are growing. They depend on the host organism for their food. The difference between parasite and saprophytes is that the parasites completely eat up the host organism. They entirely kill the host organism. So they are responsible for the malfunctioning of the host animals. Children, this was about the food eaten by different animals. Now let us understand the food eaten in the different parts of our country. We all know that ours is a huge country with a variety of customs, religions, and states and people living in those states. Let us talk about people who are living in the north. So if we talk about northern area of India, including Punjab and Haryana, people mostly eat wheat and pulses here. And Haryana is the largest producer of wheat and pulses in India. Going a little down south, if we go to regions like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, etc., the focus is on rice. Even when the people are eating idli and dosa, these also include preparations using rice. In the eastern states like West Bengal, Odisha and Assam, fish is the main source of energy for the people, along with variety of rice preparations. Food in the west, if we talk about areas like Maharashtra and Goa, here also people like to eat a lot of rice and fish. And if we go in areas like Rajasthan and Gujarat, wheat is the main source of food here. So children, this is how the variety of food eaten in different states varies. Now let us quickly have a look at skills of cooking food. Children, why is cooking food important? Cooking food is important for many reasons. Number one, it enhances the flavor of the food. Number two, it kills the germs inside the food that can cause food poisoning. Number three, it definitely makes the food more easily digestible. So, while cooking food, what are the important points that need to be kept in mind? Food should be cooked on low flame. Vitamin C gets destroyed by heating food. So, vitamin C rich foods should be eaten raw as much as possible. Cereals and pulses should be cooked in pressure cooker that reduces the time of cooking them and preserves the nutrients. Avoid overcooking because it destroys the nutrients inside the food. Vegetables should be washed properly in running water before peeling or cutting. Let's talk about handling food. Now, why is handling food important? Because if you are not washing the food properly, or if you are not washing your hands before and after handling food, you are constantly exchanging the germs in your hands and the germs on the food items and making way for food poisoning in your bodies. So, care must be taken to keep food items covered and well protected from rodents, birds, and insects. Cereals and pulses should be stored in clean containers, and these containers should essentially be kept at a dry place away from moisture. We should take only as much food as we can finish. We should not leave food in our plates. We should avoid overeating because not only it makes us vomit, but it also leads to discomfort in our body. Oily and spicy foods are tasty but harmful. They lead to obesity. So, children, in this chapter, we have learned so much about food. We have learned about the different categories of animals based on the food items that they eat. We have also learned how the food needs to be handled and skillfully cooked for all of us. So I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed the chapter with us. Thank you.